Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Our subject is immune response. And what is immune response? Immune response is the ability of the immune system to answer to an invading the body factor, be that factor a germ or a virus. So the answer that we give to the invading factor, that means in lay terms how easily we get sick or how easily we get well. If we get sick very easily, then we do not have a good immune response. We do not have a strong immune system. If we get well very easily, then we have a good immune response. We have a good immune system. However, today I am going to touch on a part that most of the doctors, I don't know if there is someone else, please let me know, have not touched. The correlation of time and immune response. Of course, I am not talking about the time that a person lives, is alive, because this is also a factor. The factor time is double. The first is that the older we are, the worse immune response we have. Of course, sometimes we have children that have a very low immune response, but these children also, when they grow up, they will have even lower. So the more we grow up, the worse immune response we have. There is a slight deviation here that when children are very young and their immune system is immature yet, they do not have such a good immune response as they have after some time when their immune system matures better. But this is after 30 days or 2 months. And then the immune system starts to decline very slowly at the beginning. And then when the growth hormone stops being secreted in normal amounts, then from then on we have a decline of the immune response. So this is one factor that has to do with time. But there is another factor that has to do with time. Let me just fix the light a little bit. Yes. Okay, there is another factor that has to do with time. And this factor has to do not with the time we are alive, but with the time of the earth. What do I mean by that? And this is something that is being mentioned, that I don't know if it has ever been mentioned before. As time goes by, the earth gets colder because there is a theory, a very valid theory, that the earth is a part of the solar system of the sun that got detached and started to roll by itself. And then as it was going further and further away from the sun, inside the space, the outer space, if I may say so, because it is very cold there, it started to be colder and colder. Now, at the beginning, the earth was all full of fire. It was a fireball, as the astrophysics say, because it is a chunk from the sun. As they say also that in the moon, they have found pieces and parts that are very Earth-like. The moon is also a chunk probably from the Earth. So as the Earth was a fireball, it started to get colder and colder, and in some time, it made a crust. As the milk, when it gets colder, it develops a crust. Now, on this crust, uh, life started to evolve, but the crust was thin and very near below the crust. Like, for example, I don't know, 10 meters, 20 meters, 1 kilometer was the magma. The magma is the molten lava, is the uh, fiery part of the earth that still, right now, exists in 2020, 21, 23 that we are talking. It still exists in the center of the earth. But it gets colder and colder, and the crust gets higher and higher, and we get, because we step on the crust, we get further and further away from the heat. What does that imply, and what is the connection of the earth and our immune response? The connection is that this magma, this lava, this fiery, I don't know how to say it in so lay terms to avoid the words magma, but I think you all understand. This fiery substance was fiery because it contained energy. In order to have heat, you have to have molecules that move very fast. The slower, the fast moving molecules, the slower they get, the colder the substance gets. And, like, for example, when we have water, the molecules, when water is boiling, are moving very fast. But we must give them energy so that they move fast. If we let the water get cold, then the molecules are moving slower and they emit energy in the surroundings. And the surroundings get warmer and the molecules get uh, colder. That means they are moving slower. And when the water becomes ice, the molecules are moving much, much slower, if at all. Uh, and in order to make the water ice, we have to take out all most of the energy. And in order to make the ice as water again, then we have to give it back energy. So heat is energy. So when the people were close to this heat, their body was getting much more energy, and it was getting natural energy, and they were closer to the magma. They were closer to the core. They were closer to the heat. They were closer to the energy, and they were wearing no shoes. Now, second step of the thinking process is that our body became born in a warm surrounding, in a hot surrounding. Now we are starting to turn away from this heat, and the crust is getting fatter, pulling us away from the core, from the heat, from the energy. We are wearing shoes, and even if we were not wearing shoes, our body receives less and less energy all the time. The gadgets that give us energy, I don't know how efficient they are, because uh, the point is for us to get crude energy and to transform it into the energy our body needs, not to get refined energy and affect our body. But this is another talk. Now, since two things are happening, the shoes, the body getting colder, our bodies are now colder bodies. They're further away from the heat. They're not getting the energy they need. And slowly, slowly, our body adapts to being colder. Why? Because the body has a thermoregulation system in our brain that if we are warm, it does certain things that escape from this talk to adapt to this energy. If it gets cold, it does other things to adapt to the cold, to get used to the cold. So we see people that are outside in cold countries, and it's cold, and they're wearing a t-shirt and nothing else. Why is that? Because their body is adapting, but it's not adapting without cost. It costs the body to adapt. What does it cost? It costs the bad circulation of the lymph system. The lymph system is something that has not been researched well enough. The lymph system contains a fluid, and we have three kinds of vessels. We have the arteries that contain a fluid which is called arterial blood. We have the veins that contain another fluid, arterial blood modified, which is called venous blood, but it's very modified because it's not doesn't contain only different quantities of oxygen, but different quantities of nutrients, and it's like being another fluid. It's not, of course. And a third kind of vessel, the lymphatic vessel, that contains the lymphatic fluid, which is used. Look it up to clean up the system and to take away toxins. Now, the smallest vessels in our body are the lymphatic vessels. And the most dense fluid is the lymphatic fluid. So what do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? We have a system that has to circulate a fluid much denser than the arteries and the veins, but it has to circulate it through much smaller vessels than the arteries and the veins. So what happens here? In order for this fluid to circulate very well, the body must be warm. If the body is cold, the molecules of the fluid, of the lymph, become slower, move slower, and the lymph becomes, if not more dense, it has more difficulty in moving. So because these vessels are very small in diameter, sometimes the lymph stops moving, especially if we are cold. This is the reason why, if we do a very cold shower, or if we go to a cold sea, or if we go to a very cold bath, and then we go out of this to the warmth, to the heat, we feel a sense of well-being, a sense of euphoria. It is because some of the lymph vessels the lymph that had stopped all over the body are starting to have a slow movement. And this slow movement benefits us in health. But as our body gets colder, and as we expose ourselves to the cold, and even if we don't expose ourselves to the cold, the body is much colder than the body of the first people was. So all this has puts a weight on the immune response and the immune system response. So one of the factors that we get sicker now is because of our body being colder. What must we do? We must never lose an opportunity to make our body warm. We must try to bring ourselves as much as possible to the conditions that were alive in the time after the Neanderthals, in the time when the heat of the earth was very much and the crust was small and the people were getting a lot of heat. Because we are not getting this now, we must still not let our body get colder, because it is already colder. It's through the ages, people were used to get colder and colder. And right now, we don't have this heat, not emanating from the earth and not anywhere. So this is one good that the glass house effect has, because it keeps us warmer. But of course, it keeps the the toxins all they, not able to leave towards the space. But what we should do to get as much serious as we can is never lose an opportunity to warm our body and lose all the opportunities to make our body colder. If we want to be healthier, and I have explained why, maybe at the risk of tiring you a little bit, but now you have a complete knowledge of the rationale of what you must do and why you must do it. And what you must do, and in my opinion, is never lose an opportunity to warm up our body, lose all the opportunities to make our body colder, dress well, not try to show off by going out in the cold with a t-shirt, because yes, everybody will see that we are very healthy, but our body tries to compensate and we are doing a lot of bad things to our body. Chinese medicine says that if we go to cold water, the first thing that we have the risk of happening is that our kidneys will get cold. And if our kidneys and the kidney area gets cold, then we very easily get prostate. This is Chinese medicine. But I'm not teaching you Chinese medicine. I'm just trying to show you the many reasons, and there are even more, but I'll have to do a many day seminar about that. There are many reasons why you have to keep your body warm. So, another thing that will help your immune response and will make your immune system better. I know that everybody cannot have a sauna in his house, in his or her house, although it would be a very good idea. You have heard that coronavirus dies with the heat over 60 degrees Celsius. Saunas, the coldest sauna is 60 degrees. We have 70 and 80 degrees. But we haven't heard do a lot of sauna because there are other reasons. But I'm not talking about coronavirus. I'm talking about the immune response to everything. So even if you don't have a sauna at home, which I believe is the best investment you can do, there is a sauna at the gym. But there's a secret there. If you do a sauna in the gym, then you have to dress very well, very warmly, because what we used to do is we go to the sauna, we have a sauna, we exercise, our blood circulates, and then we go out with a t-shirt. This is wrong. You should wear warm trousers, warm sweaters, one above the other, a cap, a wool cap, cover your mouth not to take inside cold air, and keep your body warm as much as possible. My philosophy is to make small videos but sometimes things cannot be said by making a very small video. So I will stop here, but I will let you know right now that I have not covered the whole subject. I've just given you a hint, and uh, the thing is for you to learn more things about the subject. So all the time, keep your body warm, do a lot of sunbathing, not much swimming because the sea is colder. The sea has to be warm. For example, when I was in Mexico and in the swimming pool of the hotels in Mexico, the water was like tea. Of course, I'm not talking about that, but I'm trying to giving you an idea. So if the sea is cold, don't go in. But if you had had a lot of sun from sunbathing, then go in for 1 minute so that the heat gets off, but don't get colder again. Go out before you get cold and sit more. Let your body have warmth. The ancient Greeks said the good is not in much. So it was ukentopoloto f. There is not goodness in many things. So I will be happy to receive your comments. My website is diagnostiki.com and neozoia.com. My email is neozoia1@gmail.com, neozoia1, the number one, @gmail.com. My Facebook is Dr. Evan Gikontes. I will be happy to your comments. Thank you very much, and until next time, have a nice day.